There we go.
Yeah.
Welcome to the final CCIM chat of 2020, the 2024 cohort. We have our very esteemed guest, Moses Hall of Mo Hall Commercial and Urban Development, with us today. Hall and Commercial Development is a full-service, client-centric commercial real estate brokerage committed to representing the interests of investors, landlords, tenants, property owners in Chicago. You name it, he's got it. His career launched after becoming a licensed realtor in 2014, and over the years, he's attained the top producer status, consistently receiving five-star reviews. He's a senior investment broker specialist where he specializes in serving a diverse clientele, including international investors from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. In 2019, he was recognized by Realtor Magazine's 30 Under 30. And in addition, he's achieved the 2020 commercial top producer status by the Chicago Association of Realtors. Now, you know that's something big in 2020, okay? Because business was, all right. His work has been highlighted in several publications, including the Connect Commercial Real Estate Media, WVON's 40 Under 40 Game Changer Award for 2020. Once again, he has recently obtained his CCIM designation and is a recipient of the Cultural Diversity Educational Program Scholarship, which was developed to assist minorities with the expenses of the CCIM coursework, and we will be talking about that as well. I could go on and on. He's a board of director for NAR, Illinois Realtor State Legislative Contact. He's a NAR chair of Commercial Economic Issues, board of Government Relations Committee for the International Council of Shopping Centers, ICSC, and of course, board of director for CCIM Illinois. I'm going to stop here so he can get some word in. Without further ado, Mo Hall, please take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for those kind words and that warm introduction. I don't take it lightly or take it for granted. Hearing, you read back my bio, sometimes you don't realize how much you've been able to accomplish, and, realizing that I was once in a lot of you guys on the call's position trying to work towards getting that designation. And so, I kind of started my journey with CCIM in 2018. And one of the reasons how I got exposed to CCIM is through a program called Project REAP. And Project REAP is a minority commercial program that exposes minority professionals to the world of commercial real estate. And through that program, I was exposed to other organizations such as ICSC, ULI, which is Urban Land Institute, and CCIM. And also CCIM had a partnership with the Chicago Realtors in terms of scholarships available to take certain CCIM courses. And so I, being a broker at an independent brokerage, I never had the opportunity to be at a big shop, and so I know I needed the credentialing to help me win listings, to win clients. And I thought there's no better designation to go after than CCIM. So that's what really kind of piqued my interest, not only getting the information and learning, because I don't have a traditional commercial real estate background. Most people have gone to, school, college, or, grad school to obtain some type of degree mirroring commercial real estate. However, I come from a totally different industry. I come from the arts background. I actually moved from New York to Chicago to study at Columbia College. And so I have no relation to commercial real estate. And so, as we all know, I'm pretty sure most of us are licensed in the Zoom call. There's no separate license for commercial real estate and residential real estate, and here in Illinois. And also, you don't really learn the business when getting your license. You just pretty much learn license law. It's pretty much like a law class. You learn what not to do in terms of discrimination. You learn this, you learn that, but you don't really learn, what a triple net lease is. You don't learn how to understand what a cap rate is or IRR. Like, they don't teach you that in getting your real estate license. And so I needed some additional training and certification um, in order to, pursue my commercial endeavors. And so CCIM to me was a perfect organization to do that. And I know there's a few, I recognize some of the names on the call. As Sean had mentioned in my bio, CCIM had a diversity scholarship program. If we go by the NAR stats, over 50% of the commercial members that identify as commercial members are over the age of 65 and also have a household income over $200,000. As Sean mentioned in my bio, I started in the industry. I got licensed fall of 2013, and I started January 2014. I was only 23 years old. So I didn't have the money. I'm fresh out of college. First of all, went to school for an arts. So can you imagine most college, people, they don't really have the funding to pursue to get into commercial real estate. So I started at residential because it was more of a easier entry point, but I started working with investors. Investors, they were buying 2, 3 flats. That's kind of where I started. And then over the years, because they kind of bought at the bottom of the market, because we were still coming out of that 2008 crash, when they started to get appreciation in their properties, they decided to trade up because they bought that, you know, 2 unit, 3 unit at 100,000, and now it's worth 300,000, 400,000. And so what they do is they trade up to now a 6 unit. And so that's kind of how I started to build that commercial clientele um, and getting into commercial real estate. And then, like I said, CCIM has scholarships. And so I was in the industry about 4 years. I took Project REAP 2016. I did that for a year. And then after I finished that program, that's when I started my CCIM journey. And so I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe everyone has to start at 101. Is that a correct assessment?
You have to start at 101, but then after that, you can do the other ones in any order. Yep.
Right. Yep. That's what I wanted to confirm. And so me personally, I did it in order. You don't necessarily have to go that route as previously stated, but for me, I took my first one-on-one class in California with the instructor Kamala Ma. And that was the most intense 5-day course that I've ever imagined. Nothing really prepares you for that first kind of crash course of all the things that you're learning. But then you realize a lot of the stuff that you learn are practical. I know oftentimes we take classes or we go to school for stuff and you never use it in your day-to-day life. A lot of the stuff that I learned in one-on-one was practical to certain deals that I started to get in, and I could talk that lingo and I can hang with my clients when they were trying to make decisions. And it really impressed them that I was able to present those numbers. So I started with 101. I took a break. Even though I had the scholarship, the classes were still, kind of, costly, but it was worth it. And then also the traveling commitment and hotel and stuff like that. So it is a financial commitment. And so I did take 101, and then I jumped back into it. Ironically, around the pandemic, they had some online classes. And so I ended up taking 102 online. Actually, I finished my entire CCIM journey online, and it was due to the pandemic and classes not being held in person. But I was still able to network with classmates and class members because during our class sessions, they would break us out in breakout groups. We would have group work, and we could still exchange information. And from that, I've been able to actually get referrals. And so I know, oftentimes people say, well, what is the value in getting your designation? I've been actually able to quantify my, increase in revenue because of this designation, referrals. I literally just got a referral from a CCIM designee out of St. Louis. And, their client is, looking to acquire a multi-million dollar warehouse facility. And would I have gotten that referral if I wasn't a CCIM designee? Probably not. And so I know for me, I paced myself in terms of getting this designation. I know some folks like to knock it out back to back. They knocking it out in 6 months. For me, that wasn't conducive for my schedule and the way that I process knowledge. Sometimes I need to sit with stuff. I need to take my time. I need to digest it. I need to apply it to real life where it becomes secondhand nature for me. And so it took me about a course of 3 years to complete my CCIM designation. And I know a lot of us struggle with the portfolio. I know that's usually, because I know quite a few of my peers and colleagues that, have completed all the courses, but, struggle with the portfolio. And because I've, we're still working deals, it allowed me to already have the portfolio there once I was able to, complete all the courses. But let me backtrack a little bit, just to kind of go over the courses so that everyone knows kind of what it is. You have 4 core courses, right? You have 101, which is pretty much a financial analysis. You have 102, which is a market analysis. You have 103, which is a user decision analysis. And then 104 is an investment analysis. And throughout all these courses, you learn so much. Like, I'm in the middle of representing a tenant that is trying to negotiate a renewal. And we're trying to go back and forth and understand, should they lease, continue leasing this space, or is there an opportunity to purchase? And I'm actually been able to use some of the information and tools that I gained from my CCIM courses to break down the lease purchase breakdown and cost benefit. And so these are certain things that you kind of learn in your classes that you can apply to real life scenarios when you have a client that's been leasing for 15, 20 years. Now the landlord wants to, go crazy on the rental increase. And now they have to decide, do they abide, or is there stuff in the area that they can purchase that is comparable to where they're at? And so these courses definitely help you do that. I think if I recall correctly, you have to take an ethics course as well. And then kind of once you complete all those courses, it qualifies you to submit for your portfolio. And so, like I said, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I do believe it's 3 deals totaling 30 million, 10 deals totaling 20 million, or 20 commercial transactions. And so there are 3 different type of portfolios. There's a traditional portfolio that you can go where you have like 2 years in commercial real estate experience. There's a streamlined portfolio where you have 5+ years of experience, and you have a non-transactional portfolio. Those are for those that are in corporate institutional roles like asset manager and et cetera, et cetera. So I decided to do the streamlined portfolio, and it's a little bit different as well because I am my own managing broker. So the only, not snafu, but I did have to get my tax preparer to certify the transactions that I completed. So they have to, if you decide to go the streamlined approach, or if you're your own managing broker, you have to get someone to certify the sales that were being presented. So, and typically, I don't know, I took mine in the fall of 23, and I believe the deadline for the portfolio submission was around July, August, and I took it in November. I'm not sure what the portfolio deadline is. Sean, do you know that offhand for the coming?
I don't know the deadline. I'm sure
But, but I'm, but I'm, but
Cynthia's
I'm
gonna
pretty,
grab it real quick and put it in the chat. I can guarantee you that.
yeah, yeah. But I'm pretty confident the deadline has passed already for April's exam, right? Okay, yeah. I'm pretty sure because usually it's a couple of months in advance of the comprehensive exam. So if you are preparing to take the exam this fall, usually the portfolio is due around July, early August. And you also have to have letters of recommendation, usually by your state president, other CCIM uh, board directors, in order to get the portfolio passed. And, once you've completed all the courses, did your ethics exam, submitted the portfolio, you get approved to sit for the exam. The exam is 6 hours long. And I am no mathematician. Thank you. The portfolio was due January 26th. So if you were planning to do that in April, it was due the 26th of January. But once you submit all of that and you get approved to sit for the exam, I recommend everybody, please take the review course. They have an online portion and they have an in-person review course. You don't have to, but I would recommend that you take the review course, and it goes through literally the entire exam. They literally help you prepare for this 6-hour exam. You will need the full 6 hours. You will need the full 6 hours. I see Dr. Mufasa, I see a thumbs up. Is there some you want a question or anything you want to add?
I think he probably just right on in you because
Okay.
every CCIM we've had prior to you is saying the same exact thing. So
So
if you don't know nothing, this
yeah,
last one, listen to Mo.
I'm telling you, this exam, you will think you're prepared, but nothing can really prepare you for this 6 hour. And so what happens is, don't sit on a question too long. If you don't know it, if you can't figure out the formula, move on and come back, because you will fail the exam just because you didn't finish the exam. So you're better off just filling in an answer right then and there and moving on to the next question, because that 6 hours, it sounds long, but when you're in it, it goes by very quickly. One of the ways that you can, thank you. This year's CCR course is from April 8th through 11th virtual, and then April 13th, 14th in person. So you will need there's only, I promise you, 98% of the room was still full down to the 6 hours. It was like a small, like 2% that got up maybe within 5 hours, 4.5 hours, but everybody took the full 6 hours. So please plan to take your time and kind of get through there.
Hold on a
So,
sec, Mo.
man,
Mustafa, did you have a question before he moved on?
No, I was
Mustafa.
going to add a little bit more to that.
yeah, please add.
Um, you know, for me, uh, I have a pretty decent memory, but after I take I'll read the book, the next day I think I have lost about 80% of that. So it's very important to take the review course. And also it took me 5.5 hours to do the 6-hour exam.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that sounds about right. Like I said, it's a very extensive exam. I do want to add, though, it is open book, but it's not going to do you any good if you don't know where to look and the formulas. You have to know how to plug, and you have to understand the question. That's really the biggest thing, understanding what formula to apply, because sometimes in the question, they will give you more than what you need. And you have to decipher exactly what the question is asking and what method to apply in that moment. And so that's a really key thing to realize and understand. And so, one of the things that I also want to cover is that CCIM is not only for brokers. I know it's broker heavy, but we have appraisers, we have investors, we have developers, we have corporate real estate that benefit from this designation. I've even seen, I'm active on LinkedIn, and I seen a job posting for a corporate real estate position, and it said CCIM designee preferred. So we're seeing this designation be respected, not just amongst our organization, but to outside corporations as well. Like I said, as I kind of went through before, I know people kind of get tripped up on the deal component, especially if you're newer to the industry. How do you get the deal experience? Sometimes you can be, if I'm not mistaken, you can be a part of a team. You just have to show how you participated in the deal. There are ways to kind of get there. And like I said, you can do 20 commercial transactions, and that will satisfy that requirement if you haven't done 30 or 10 million in commercial sales. So I want to kind of, encourage those, because I know quite a few people personally that have completed all the courses, but they just don't have the portfolio. So there are ways that you can still satisfy that requirement, even if you have to partner. And I know with me, what helped me outside of being in the industry for quite some time was that I represented banks and other investors. And so they would give me portfolios to sell. And so that helped my, so if you can get, an investor portfolio, or, get a bank listing and list some stuff where you have a consistent feed of listings and deals to do, that also will help. If you can't join a team, help your deal count. And so, like I said, me personally, I waited to start working on my portfolio, but I don't recommend that. Start planning as soon as you can, and pace yourself, because it was a little overwhelming trying to get all the deals, like they ask for make sure you're keeping good records of the deals that you're doing, whether it's if it's in the MLS, whether it's leases, whether it's the actual closing statement sheet. You definitely want to keep good record of that. So start organizing that early. And, you definitely want to make sure that you are connected with our local chapter, because you do need letter recommendation. So I would definitely try to attend if you plan on taking the comprehensive exam. I do believe we have an event next week. Is that right, Sean? With partnering with the Chicago Realtors, and you'll be in the room with some of our Illinois directors for CCIM, and you can just make your face known. Say, hey, I'm thinking about taking the comprehensive exam. When the time comes, I would love for you to write me a letter of recommendation. So you definitely want to do those things in terms of preparing to take the exam. Sean, is there anything you wanted me to touch on or
I
talk
mean,
about?
you're doing good. Went through the whole thing, Mo. We can just tell everybody good night. No, no, this is great detail. And I know Cynthia's probably gonna pop it in the chat, but that's gonna be March 13th. It's our commercial Kickstarter in partnership with Commercial Forum for Car.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be March 13th at 3 o'clock. So like he said, be in the building. And my co-chair, who was unable to be here today, she might pop on a little later, but Amy Hall, she is actually going to be one of the panel speakers. So definitely, no worries, Cynthia. Definitely hope you can make it there, because like Mo said, it's gonna count, making all of those, connections and building those relationships. I do want to ask you, Mo, with all of what you said, which is amazing, because it is not just broker specific. It is broker heavy. The mentorship program does have appraisers, bankers. We have everybody from all walks because of that. And so since we're coming to a head with our program, March 20th, we're graduating the second cohort. The third one is going to start soon, but applications will open next month. We're definitely interested in having people that are not just brokers, but you're also appraisers, you're also bankers, you're also even attorneys, right? Because we have individuals who are in those fields that want to obtain their designation. And so we need mentors to help get them into those positions. Coming from that, what made you choose the specialty that you deal with right now in commercial real estate, and what are some tips and tricks, or just some advantageous information you can share about that specialty that you deal with right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm in the government consultant space. I work with different municipalities, banks, um, and organizations to help kind of revitalize certain underserved communities. And so the way I got into that space is I knew that I wanted to make a difference in the communities that I serve, but I didn't know exactly how. And I realized that what affects a lot of our communities, especially on the south side of Chicago, is policy. And I thought there's no better way to serve my community is to work with the local municipalities of those communities and revitalizing those areas. And so some of the things and projects I've been able to work on is I was able to work with the local commission for mental health. And so I was able to place a mental health organization in the Bronzeville community, which is on the south side of Chicago. And this is a government agency, government entity sanctioned by the city of Chicago and taxpayer funds that we can serve a community that needs those type of services. Right now in this day and age, the violence that we see and the things people are dealing with, grief and dealing with all types of things in their lives. And part of that is because of their mental health state. And we see certain things and certain unfortunate tragedies that happen with the local police because we have someone dealing with a mental health crisis, and we need those services. And so when I can impact the community by not just putting another liquor store in the community, but I can impact it by adding social services, that's what fulfills me and the things that I look to do. And so that's kind of how I got into the sector of government, representation, consulting work. I do a lot of work in the South suburbs, working with those local municipalities on representing them on some of the abandoned commercial assets that they own and how we can reimagine those commercial corridors to put stuff there. Those that are from, the Chicagoland area realize how high taxes are in the South suburbs. And part of that challenge is because there is no commercial properties and businesses that can share that burden. And so a lot of that tax burden is shifted to the residents of those local municipalities. And so, yeah, so to answer your question, what sector I'm in, government, consultant, representation. Why did I do it? Because like I said, I wanted to have a greater impact to communities.
That's so impressive and definitely admirable, because it's absolutely what's needed in those communities. Oftentimes, that is the reason that you don't see development, or that they're underrepresented, because there are no qualified individuals interested in those areas and those domains. So kudos to you on recognizing a need and filling the gaps, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Challenging as commercial real estate may be, whether it's getting involved in it, being in it, making connections, what are some challenges you've experienced as not only a minority, but a young minority, where this is, the older generation, like you said, over 65%, over, 80% are over 65 years and older. How do they receive you? And what are some challenges that you've acknowledged in the industry at your age?
Well, the biggest challenge and the elephant in the room is the financial commitment to play in this industry. And that's why I'm appreciative of CCIM recognizing that and offering scholarships so that we can further our education in the commercial real estate realm. And so if it wasn't for the scholarships, I probably couldn't afford, like I said, I started in this industry at 23. So, you're a hungry college grad just trying to make ends meet and figure out the next direction of your life. So I didn't have thousands of dollars to commit in furthering my education at that time. And so the biggest barrier for most people, especially younger minority, is the financial commitment. And I can just tell you right now, I don't want to collude or anything, but just other certain resources like CoStar and LoopNet, those are very expensive commitments as an independent brokerage. And, the prices have continually increased over the years. And so when you are trying to play in a certain, play field, most of us have, access to the MLS. That's just a one-time fee. But if you want to play in the commercial space, there are certain data, products, things that you have to have in order to play on a certain level, and it costs. And most people can't afford that upfront cost and invest because, like you said, you're trying to focus on commercial full time. So with that said, in terms of walking into rooms, sometimes it can be a little discouraging when I'm the only minority in the room. It can be a little bit intimidating when you're, walking in certain rooms and you're trying to find your place. But I've been fortunate enough to find favor with certain key individuals in our industry that have been able to encourage me, to extend opportunities towards me. And that's been super helpful. Case in point, organizations like CCIM that's been very helpful in elevating my career. So like I said, it's no secret that minorities do face certain hurdles and challenges, one being obviously the financial commitment to it, especially if you are at a residential brokerage and you have interest in doing commercial. It takes a lot of initial investment. And then two, like you said, just being Black, minority, few in the room, trying to navigate those circles. Even with the success that I've achieved, sometimes I still feel that I've hit a ceiling because if you look at some of the closed deals within the Chicagoland area, there's at least a $100 million deal done every week. And unfortunately, I don't see minority brokers operating at that level where we can close $100 million, apartment building deal or anything like that. And so there are still barriers to entry to play at that high level of commercial real estate investment.
And you touched on some key points, especially with the scholarships. Oftentimes, we are just unaware that they exist,
Yes.
or the process may be a little lengthy as expected. They're giving away quite a bit of money to help in your career. Make sure you visit our CCIM Illinois chapter. Cynthia, if you can pop our website in the link in the chat and go to the scholarships to apply. We have quite a few of them. And then Mo did mention being a recipient of CDEP, which I'm also a recipient as well of. And they basically offset the cost of what those courses cost to take your CCIM classes. So definitely take advantage of the scholarship opportunities. And even in, just outside of that, being a part of the associations, I know I'm a part of CARMO is as well, and they have scholarships to help with furthering, your education for post-secondary classes in real estate. So, use all of your options and use all of those features because it is definitely is it's a financial way to pay and play in commercial real estate, and it's no joke. He mentioned CoStar and LoopNet. For those of you who might not be aware, those are some platforms for researching the real estate that you can sometimes only find on those platforms. A lot of commercial brokers do not use the MLS. They actually frown upon even doing deals with residential brokers, right? A lot of them. So you have to, like he says, pay to play, which is subscribing to some of those, and those are pretty hefty. LoopNet does have a free service, but it's very, very limited for that free service. So absolutely, just look into those, plan, prepare ahead of time, like he says, to ensure that you have those tools in your arsenal. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Site to Do Business, which is our CCIM platform where you can, use all types of the reports and segmentation tools that they have to locate, site select, and all those kind of things, and find trends for purchases for or sales for your clients. It's definitely something you want to take advantage of. But again, it is a cost to that. So thank
Yes.
you for mentioning that. Yeah.
But it's definitely worth the investment and cost, like you say, even
Oh,
site
sure.
new business. I have a vacant land listing that I just listed. And in order to help market the property, I had to use site to do business in order to put some of those demographic information
Mhm.
that will help a developer or retailer decide if this is a good location for them. So the stuff that you are paying for, it can be costly, but it's worth the investment because you can, make money on the back end with this information, because these are certain things that, larger retailers are going to ask for. So yes, I fully endorse site to do business.
Absolutely. And we're coming up on the time where we're going to open it up for Q&A. I've got one more question for you.
Okay.
What is a book or magazine, or even it can even be a quote, something that you'd recommend? Because everybody who's being productive and everybody who's operating and functioning at a high level, we're reading something, right?
Yeah.
What are you reading? What are you reading right now?
Honestly, what I read are articles from the real deal. I think it is a slight subscription, but I get those emails alerts every single day, and that keeps me on my toes of what's happening in our industry. That's the biggest thing for me is I want to know what's going on in our industry. It's called The Real Deal, and they keep me abreast on industry um, events, activities, laws, things that are happening in our industry. Like, for example, there's new legislation within the city of Chicago, where in certain neighborhoods, I know Carr does a great job as educating us as well. But like I said, what I also read is The Real Deal in terms of tenants will have the first right of refusal to purchase any building. That changes the dynamic of how we do business. And so you want to be aware of key things that are happening. I saw that there was an auction happening of over 800 uh, lots and properties across the south side and west side of Chicago, of one person owning and owing the city of Chicago over $15 million. So for me, what I do every morning, I'm literally reading articles. I also subscribe to CoStar. I'm trying to understand better what's happening in our markets, because I want to be a resource to my clients and let them know the things that are happening. So that's kind of what I'm reading on a day-to-day basis, is being abreast, not what's only happening in our market, but also happening in other markets, because it may be implemented here. And we see here in Chicago, they always love to follow laws implementing in California or New York that are disasters. And then we have to fight to make sure it doesn't get passed here.
Man, you just mentioned quite a few things just in those few nuggets that you gave with what's happening, just to make sure we're staying abreast, because it is something that will affect us. And it's kind of like a shift. You can view it as a shift. You're talking about that tenant opportunity to buy in the 606. That's anywhere in Chicago. And even though that may be talking about residential, it also could be talking about commercial. We're talking about multi-units.
Yeah,
We're
no,
talking
it
about mixed use.
Yeah, it is. So I think it's kind of like in the Humboldt Park, in those areas where the tenant, before a seller can sell it, the tenant will have the seller has to present it to the tenants, and they can band together and buy it and have the time to get the adequate financing to purchase it. It could be a single family home, or it could be a 12-unit building. And so this can, yeah. Oh, so wow. It just had her mom and stepfather had that opportunity to buy a rental building over 30 years. They kicked themselves about it now. Yep.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, yeah. So those are legislation that changes the dynamic and deal flow and what we do. And so my biggest thing is, so when I'm at these networking events and people want to have conversations, that I can have something to add or tidbits, or give my clients a heads up, like, hey, you FYI, you may want to. So I just try to keep up to date on current events and policies. I think the biggest thing, and also being in tune. I know even with CCIM, we do have a segment where we have, listen, Adrian from Chicago Realtors. She'll come and give an updates on things happening. So that's biggest thing I try to do is just be up to date on what's happening in our market.
Absolutely. Adrian Morowski, one of our GADs, right?
Absolutely.
Government Affairs directors. And let's add CCIM connections to that. That's your commercial magazine, which obviously, CCIM heavy, but, all of the diverse array of information is what keeps you sharp. That's why Mo is on top. That's why he's here today. Okay. All right. And yeah, Cynthia, I mean, I've been offering that as a opportunity for tenants when they're in situations where the landlord is selling. And so the tenants are like, I have to move. My first question is, do you want to buy it? Let's see if you can buy it, right? So I guess in a sense, I'm happy to see that this is being something mandated, but at the same time, it can close a window and cause a lag for investors, for tenants who probably don't want to or can't afford yet want to see, right? I just want to see. They have to give them that time to see. So it's a double-edged sword. I guess you can look at it both ways, a double entendre. But I think that for the most part, as long as we're advocates in that arena for those tenants, right, we can kind of help prevent that lag and that clogging up the system.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any questions from our audience? Everyone is pretty quiet. I love it. Mo's getting to talk. But what do you guys want to ask Mo? You've got a young entrepreneur right here. Owns his own company. And Mo, you got some personal things going on too. I know that's not what this is, but it does speak to being allowed to have opportunities to do things that you want to do. You do something else on the side. What do you do?
So I actually, as I kind of mentioned earlier in my segment, I have a background in the arts and play music and all that good stuff. And so I do own a music publishing company. And so what we do is we acquire the publishing rights of notable artists and collect royalties. So it's almost like real estate investing, but intellectual property. So some of the royalties that we collect are from artists like Chris Brown and Trey Songz, and we have some gospel artists and other things like that that we do. So it's kind of a part two of me still keeping my feet in the music industry is still doing commercial real estate.
That's amazing, young man, young man. That is amazing. I can't wait to see what your next Quincy Jones era is going to look like.
Thank you.
I can't. I think Mustafa has his hand up, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I just want to add to that review course for the CCIM test. That review course also help you take the test. So they give you ideas of how to do certain type of problem solving. So it's very beneficial. You need to take that review course before you take the CCIM exam.
Thank you for that, Mustafa. I think he did touch on that a little earlier because everything is in that, and you can use the open book concept, if I'm not mistaken, with that. Like Mo said, if you don't know where something is, that book will do you no good. So I guess that review course kind of tags that, right? You know where everything is in the book, and then you take it to your exam and you knock it out.
And the other thing is for if you have the calculator, you may want to, for anybody who's going to take that exam, you may want to put down some of those steps of how to use your calculator, because you will forget how to use. So you put it on the back of your calculator. There's nothing wrong with that. You put it on the back, and I still have it on back, Mo, on the back of my calculator, how to do certain steps.
Yeah.
It's so they actually, you can have a physical calculator and they also have a digital calculator that's kind of in an Excel spreadsheet, and you can plug in certain equations and it'll compute what you're looking for. But like I said, the biggest thing to, like you said, knowing the steps and knowing what the question is asking as well. So no, I agree with everything Dr. Mufasa has stated. And I also want to add, it's a little bit encouraging. We have a high pass rate. Those that don't pass the exam on the first go around, I don't know the percentage offhand year over year, but it's a very small percentage that do not pass on the first go around. And then you're allowed it to retake the exam like the next day. And then typically most people, majority of them pass on the second go around if they don't pass on the first go around. But I do want to encourage you, most people do pass on the first go around. Just gotta, like you said, take that review course, take your time, understand what the question is asking.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Toya. Your hand was up.
Yes, thank you. This was really helpful. Thank you for sharing your journey. I had two questions. The first one related to the commercial Kickstarter event at CAR. Do you have to be a member of CAR? Because I'm a member of Main Street.
I
You
don't
do.
wait.
You don't
I,
have to be a member, but there is a cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then my second question, so I did the one-on-one course already. Um, I'm transitioned to real estate full time. My background has been in healthcare, and I was recently let go from my position after working for a well-known hospital for the last almost 9 years. So I've decided to give real estate a full-time go, and I really enjoy the commercial aspect of it. I've done a couple commercial deals, so given that and me taking the one-on-one course and then having to do the other courses, is there a time limit in terms of like, do the courses expire? Because I'm trying to build up my portfolio and I don't want to do all the coursework and then miss the like a time gap to do the portfolio piece and all the other parts to qualify to sit for the exam.
I will tell you, we have people, I know brokers who've taken it 10 years ago. I was just talking to someone the other day at an AARP Chicago event, and he had taken his almost 20 years ago. And he's thinking about coming back. All he needs to do is the portfolio, take the exam, submit his portfolio, but they don't expire. So that's a
Okay.
good thing. That's definitely a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Cynthia, can you put my info in the chat if you don't mind as well? Toya, feel free to give me a call as well. I would love to share some more information with you about the mentorship program for next year as well. And definitely you have Mo's information already. If not, put it in the chat as well. Because a part of being a part of these chats in the mentorship program is you get access to people like Mo.
yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I definitely want to add the courses don't expire. However, it's not recommended to take 20 years because you will lose all that information. But I do recommend because I paced myself. There's no way that you can. Well, there's no way, but pace yourself. It's okay to pace yourself, but that review course, like I said before, is going to help you even if you're spread out a couple of years. Once you take that review course, it will help you kind of remember all those different things. So take your time, apply for scholarships, get involved with the mentor program. The link to the commercial Kickstarter event is in the chat, so you have all the information. So even though you're not a member, you can still access the event. So I would definitely encourage you to go there and network and get some information.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great question.
No,
And
I
Mo's
took my
information is in the chat as well, Toya.
I did mine a little bit different. I did my classes back to back because they was all when I took the CCIM courses, they was mainly in Chicago. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I took mine
Yeah.
back to back, and I had to, do with a hotel. By taking it back to back for
Mhm.
me, I was able to retain more because I didn't have that break. And
Right.
so I just went from one course to one course to one course to and I still took the review course. I was so glad I took the review course. I don't think I would have made it without the review course. So
Yeah, we had another CCIM that said the same thing. Cynthia Lee, actually, she's the
Yeah.
regional commercial director for KW Commercial, which is who I'm with. But hers were in Texas, so they were all in Texas, and she took hers back to back. So I think at a time ago they were only in person, and they had them all back to back because of that situation. And now we have opportunities to do them online. But if you're a person like Mo said that needs to be, you need to touch it, you need to be there, you need to raise your hand and ask questions. You got to kind of set it up, and that'll take you a while because they're not so close together in each of the states. But me myself, I'm a virtual learner. I'm an online learner. I got my bachelor's degree online. I'm just that person. But for CCIM, when I took the one-on-one, I was so glad to be in person. I need to be in person. Absolutely.
Absolutely. But like I said, everyone has different learning styles. The biggest thing I want to leave with you is do what works for you. There's no one way path to get this pin. People have done it differently. Some people take 20 years, some people take 2 months. I mean, like you said, some people just knock it out and just have all that. Some people join a firm where they'll upfront some of that cost. for them. Other people go the scholarship route. There's so many different ways to approach getting to the finish line, but all that matters is that you get there. And so, I definitely appreciate the opportunity to talk, with my colleagues and peers on how, I was able to make it to the pin. I never thought, and it was so funny because I saw my Facebook memories. I took a photo with Kamala Ma after I took 101, and it was just so surreal to look back to see where I first started and to know that that journey was finally completed. And so I want to see everyone on this call that hasn't already reached that end of the finish line.
I love that. We got about a few minutes to go. Do you have a quote, a famous quote, a favorite quote?
No famous quote, but the biggest thing I like to do is you got to plan, put in the work, and like you said, stay consistent. I know Toya mentioned that she was fortunate to let go after so many years at a hospital, and I know how disappointing that can be. But like, take this opportunity to maybe life is pointing you in a different direction, and just kind of take your time with it. There's tons of resources out there. I want to see you. Oh, what's the location for the Kickstarter? Is it in the car?
The link, yeah, the link is in there. It should be at CAR, if I'm not
Yep,
mistaken. The
it's
link
that
is in the
car.
chat
Yep,
though. Yep.
it's that car. But yeah, the biggest thing is just take your time, network. I know, like I said, trying to get the portfolio done, trying to get the classes done, the financial commitment, life happening. I know life has been lifing for many of us on this call. And so, give yourself grace. That's the biggest thing that I would want to leave with everyone on this call. Even though, you may look at your colleagues and peers, everyone's, closing deals, doing this, doing that. But don't compare your journey to someone else's. Create
Mm,
your own lane, and just take your time with it. That's the biggest thing I want to encourage everybody on this call. Just take your time.
that's it. And Dr. Mustafa put in there, education is a way of life.
Oh yes.
That's it. We're always learning. We're always on a journey for learning. Thank you for that, Doc. If there are no additional questions, thank you all so much for
I
joining
have
us
one
once again.
question.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Lisa.
Um, Mo, you said earlier that you were working with municipalities. Was that on a volunteer basis? And if so, how did you come in contact with that opportunity? And is that a requirement of CCIM, or was that just something that you did on your own?
No, it's not a requirement, but it helped me build my portfolio in terms of deals that I was able to close. So it wasn't a volunteer. I actually represented these municipalities. Oftentimes they had properties that they owned in their possession, and they would try to figure out what the value of that commercial property was. What can they repurpose it for? Should they go to market to sell it? And they would enlist my services. The way that I got in tune with working with municipalities is called RFPs. Oftentimes, they will issue a request for proposals for a broker to consult them and represent them on these sales. And so that's
Mhm.
what I was able to do, and that's how I got started in that space. But no, it is not a requirement of CCIM. That was just an entry point of how I was able to build my sales portfolio.
Got it. Thank you.
No
Good
problem.
question. Good question, Lisa. And Lisa, how did you find out about our chat today?
It's so crazy because I was like kind of staring at my screen trying to complete a residential contract, and I was stuck. I'm sorry, it wasn't residential, it was a commercial contract. And I was contemplating really, really hard on calling you, Mo, because I had a question about it, and I was too scared to do it, so I was like, forget it. And I went to the Women's Titan brunch today, and I couldn't find a parking space. So I was bummed out. I came all the way back home to start working on this contract again, and I turned on my Outlook, and the invitation was right there. Like, oh
Um,
wow, I
Oh,
do get,
wonderful.
yeah. So I was like, I do get to talk to Mo. after all.
I
So
love that. Who sent you the invite? Because
I
we
have
got we
no
got to keep making
idea.
it work.
I have no idea. It just popped up in my Outlook. It was my realtor account. So I don't
Okay.
know if all the car realtors got it or what, but it was just there and I was like, "Oh wow."
Awesome.
And I just went on ahead and registered.
Well, we're so glad you made it. You might have
I'm
attended
so
one
glad I
before,
did
I'm not
too.
sure, but you got to meet Mo. There you go.
Yeah. And so
No,
please,
I met him a couple of times before.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to say, please don't ever be afraid to reach out. I'm definitely here as a resource. I remember how it was when I was just starting out, and I wish I had someone to kind of guide me along the way. So please don't feel afraid to reach out if you have a question. I'm always here to help you guys.
Okay, well, I hope you're available in like 20 minutes.
I'm ready for you. So please reach out.
Oh,
And
thanks.
thank you all so much. We definitely really appreciate you. We're 1 minute before the hour, and we definitely want to respect your time. If you want to stay on about 2 or 3 minutes afterwards, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, we are out. Mo, thank you once again for your time. We appreciate you being here for our very last CCIM chat of the year. We always save the best for last, right?
Thank you for the opportunity. You guys take it easy now.